So we vote and still back to square one. Look at people still suffering in bitter man John. We lose faith in the leader, and I'm not calling no names. We fed up of the lies and the dirty games. So it's right now we have a vote, no confidence. Cause right now in the country they're doing real nonsense. Now the majority of youth decide to go and pick up gun. Like you're playing blind and you're deaf and dumb. Like you forget your people once you in power. And you're moving evil, you had the whole place sour. And now that we discover it's 2% that they offer. This is one little thing that I want all you to remember. We fed up for all your life. You could do much better. Kaiso, food prices going up too high. I's a madman. We can buy rice or flour. Don't the chicken going up, peas going up, sausage going up, cheese going up. It's everything going up. I's a madman. Kaiso. To talk about the crime situation now is a problem. Too much of rape, murders and robbery, how they can't solve them. I see you talk out we brain. With a set of lies, while the country going down the drain. Them don't care about nobody. Wants to fix the finance, make short friends and family. So the whole of the country wants you now to stop lying. Cause the next election is a new party we voting.
Welcome to our weekend review here on the Late Night Show with Andrew Dick. Of course, it's all about what's happened during the past week. We start off on Monday, a proposal from the United People's Party of Parliament, MP Rolando Bryson, to add an agenda point to a public meeting on the COVID-19 cuts to relieve up MP Grisha Martin of her duties as a chairperson of Parliament, was denied when it was put to a vote on Monday. Yes, I know, that happened. The proposal was voted down by 9 votes against and 6 votes for. Voting against were MPs Akeem Arinel, independent member, Christophe Emmanuel, independent member, Ludmila De Weaver, independent member, Solange Duncan, independent member, Sarah Westcott-Williams, not an independent member. She's the member of the UD. Chanel Brownbill, US Party. You know why he can't go independent. And of course, Melissa Gomes of the PFP, N.R. Peterson, and Heilige Martin. Okay? Now, voting for the proposal was Rolando Bryson, Sidat Kuki Belani, William Marlin, George Pantaflet, Hyacinth Richardson, and Angelique Rumu. All right? So those were the votes that cast for this situation. Let's go back to what happened in Parliament.
Let's go over now to the voting.
MP Ludmila De Weaver.
My apologies, against.
MP Sarah Westcott-Williams.
Against.
MP Akeem Arundel.
Against.
MP Rolando Bryson.
For.
MP Siddharth Bijlani.
For.
MP Chanel Brownbill.
Against.
MP Solange Duncan.
Against.
MP Christophe Emmanuel.
Against.
MP Melissa Gomes.
Against.
MP William Marlin.
For.
MP George Pantaflet.
For.
MP Rayon Peterson.
Against.
MP Hyacinth Richardson.
For.
MP Angelique Rumu.
For.
Chair Lady of Parliament Grisha Martin.
Against. The proposal by MP Bryson is not carried with 6 for and 9 against.
On September 20th, 8 MPs had also separately requested an urgent meeting with the same agenda point to relieve the chair of her duties. That meeting is expected to be called during the week of October the 24th. This is correct. It has been called for Thursday, October the 27th. So, Bryson posted this on his social media after he heard that the cheerleader scheduled her own demise for a second time.
Young cast, last, now everybody go to breakfast.
With the news from Tuesday this week, the recent shift in Parliament of St. Martin has the concern of Dr. Julio Romney, who is a scholar of comparative government and politics. According to Dr. Romney, there are 5 independent members of Parliament out of 15 seats. Mr. Romney recently sent a letter to the Voting Bureau seeking clarity concerning the situation of proportional representation composition in Parliament, as mandated by the Constitution of St. Martin within the limits laid down in the election ordinance. Had a sit-down interview with him, and this is what he said.
Well, basically was a letter of inquiry, and by going and coming and understanding of a parliamentary system, and basically looking at the position of Parliament today. Basically, the Parliament is in a state of turmoil. And when I say that, meaning, as you know, that 5 out of the 15 members of Parliament are now declared themselves independent. So I took a candid look at our electoral system. And the Constitution clearly states that the electoral system is based on proportional representation, meaning that the seats in Parliament are proportionally seated by particular political parties, not individuals. See, in order to have a seat or get a seat in Parliament, you need to have a proportion of the votes, the total electoral votes from the constituent state, and based on that, you get a seat in Parliament. And then in turn, the political party then assign the seats to the individual candidates in terms of the ranking. Candidate with the highest amount of seats get the seats first. So I found that to be rather peculiar. So looking back, the government having enacted the Central Voting Bureau with that responsibility to ensure that proportional representation is adhered to. And for that reason, I contacted them and asking them to give us their fee, show us exactly based on what constitutional article or election ordinance that members of Parliament are allowed to do such thing as declare themselves as independent members of Parliament.
What of the option of someone being part of a political party, then going into government itself, going into Parliament itself, and because of a disagreement, because of their own reasoning, they decide to declare themselves independent? That option is also laid down in our rules.
Well, that's the big question I wanted to ask. That's the question one of the questions I put before the Central Voting Bureau.
Because what's
Where
the difference
in the
between...
Constitution does it state that a person can declare themselves as an independent? Mind you, the key operative word here is what? Proportional representation. That's all the Constitution says. And if we want to look at the principles of proportional representation, mean that you will be represented in Parliament based on the number of votes you get from the electorate. So in other words, converting the elected votes into seats. And as an individual, one cannot contest parliamentary elections. Clearly in the rules, you have to be a political party in order to contest. Okay? So how can one justify as an individual that you're now going to declare yourself as an independent and then remain a seat in Parliament? So I want that to be justified. And I do this because I, as you know, I am constantly finding ways and means to educate my people. I believe in the whole thing, each one teach one. St. Martin was good enough to me to send me abroad to study, and I choose the area of comparative government and politics. And I think it's only right for me to give back to St. Martin.
Moving on to Wednesday, the Council of Ministers meeting was fun. We had the presence of the Prime Minister and the Minister of VSA, the Minister of Tourism, Omar Otley, who came to set the record straight about the EHAS workers, stating that they were abused by the system. And his ministry, well, the minister went in. He didn't take kind to that.
These persons work based on an hourly approach. Of course, when they were hired, everyone expected normal, you would be expected to work 40 hours. But if they work 15 hours, their invoices that they submit to government, keyword invoices, stated 15 hours. If they work 5, their invoices stated 5 hours. They were in charge of their own taxes. They were in charge of their own medical. The apparatus was a service agreement as a consultant. Employees does not submit invoices. Now, unfortunately, we have been faced with backlash from 2 members of former members of the EHAS that don't agree with their dismissal. First of all, it was an agreement, a mutual agreement to part ways for the project. Then it's being said that they were forced. No one was forced. It was clearly explained to them. And in a voice note that was illegally recorded by one of these persons, unknowingly to my staff and sent, I would like to play it because I didn't record it. They recorded the voice note. And here, I would like to play this.
Next stage, right? Yeah. So that's what we do. Yeah, nothing that it was never term. Yeah, I know that. Yeah. It ain't no surprise. Yeah, we know from the beginning. So it was a project and it's going to end too. Yeah.
So for those that don't understand, that is the person now that is, I guess, filing a dispute, stating it's not a secret. We know from the beginning that this was a project and it was coming to an end. That is the person that recorded the meeting.
Continuing with the Minister of Everything, after calming down, he did deliver some good news about the economy and the busy season that kicks off.
We are expected 1.5 million cruise passengers for the 2022-2023 season. Cruise lines look amazingly promising. There's work opportunities with Royal Caribbean, in which the marketplace is finally going to be on its way. We are doing our last adjustments. We are accumulating the prices, and then a tender will go out to carry these works. On top of that, for the first time in about 10 to 15 years, we're going to remodel the Captain Hodge Wharf. We're going to remove the damaged woods, place concrete, revitalize the entire Phillipsburg. We also plan, as Minister of TIAT and the port, to meet with all stakeholders, every jewelry store, every store on Front Street, and have a major meeting on the enhancement and the importance of the upkeep of the property. If there's a broken brick in front of your store, maybe we can come to some arrangement. It's in front of your store. Let's get it done. We are in this together, and let's see how we can deal with it on the back end. But the importance is now. We need to fix St. Martin now. There's also some great news. As you saw in the media while I was away, the luxury cruise yacht Sea Dreams 2 will be home porting out of St. Martin. This is great. And then more great news in the newspaper today. We see the Ritz-Carlton yacht will be home porting out of St. Martin today. This is great news. This is one of the things that we aim for, quality over quantity. This is a different demographic, and St. Martin is really stepping into that elite services like the Sembarts and by inviting these type of cruise lines. I'm also very happy to announce that the CALM effort has approved the port's master plan. We see that Anguilla has I would say, fuss us in revealing their plans. But our plans will be coming real soon, and it will be beneficial to St. Martin. And I would like to thank the entire COM for putting this as priority, especially the Prime Minister, and ensuring that this master plan takes place. Also, very, very great news. The NADA report of the minimum wage has been completed, has been sent and vetted by Yezetinwe, and will be on COM the next coming weeks, and finally sent to His Excellency, fingers crossed, for signing. So that is very, very soon. The Ministry of ASI is also diligently and have been diligently working on a trauma plan, trauma services plan, to enhance the emergency services, whereby we would have trained doctors, on-call doctors that can probably ride with the ambulance for trauma services, that we can treat the patients from the onset of the incident all the way to the hospital. It takes some financial input. It takes meetings with stakeholders, but we have met with the ambulance service. We have a plan of approach already approved, so we are moving forward with this.
Minister of Everything, Omar Otley, because he does everything. I think his slogan should be, I do everything, Minister of Everything, only we can save we. Anyway, Prime Minister Jacobs decided to school me on Wednesday about the situation with the government and that she has the support of majority of Parliament. Any comment concerning that?
You know, thank you for that question. I don't usually entertain political questions here, and I know you always do try, but I see the importance of clarifying something as an educator. Sometimes I get knocked for it, but I think every opportunity to enhance understanding of how our systems work is a good one for the people of St. Martin. And we do not want people to be bamboozled because they do not understand how the system works. What happened in Parliament on Monday is to Parliament's account, and it was a proposal made by a member to change the chair of Parliament. It has nothing to do with the support of the Parliament for government. Had we had a similar type of vote for the laws, then we would have a challenge, then we would have a problem. So there was full support, almost 12 of the 15, I believe, voted for the laws. A government has support, can be deemed it doesn't have support if it cannot govern. So we needed those laws to be passed to be able to govern. And so I have no concern with, let's call it the politics that is going on at Parliament at the moment, as we have a majority support still to this moment. So if someone knows something I do not know, then I guess I will hear about it. But up until now, the support for the government remains intact. And that was shown with the vote that was passing the law that was actually on question for that day. We do have other laws coming up, and we are ready to go to Parliament based on that support to get those laws enacted in the interest of the people of St. Martin, which also includes the budget.
On Thursday, Aunty Sarah Westfield-Williams decided to jump into the discussion and question the legitimacy of the Jacobs II cabinet. Aunty Sarah explains.
Does the government of St. Martin enjoy majority support at this time? That is the question on the minds of many, many persons, and rightfully so. From the original two factions with 10 seats amongst them. So the NA and UP factions, 3 seats have been lost. And actually for a short period of time, leaving the government as a minority government, a government that could not prove the majority support of Parliament. And this was countered, though, quickly with a declaration by 2 other members of Parliament, respectively an independent member and the USP member. That brought the support for the government to 9 members. That since then, nothing has been said about this, nothing has been communicated to Parliament about this, is a level of disrespect to the people of St. Martin. The government's management is, or at least should be, dictated by the national budget And in our case, the country package plans, because the governing program that the government boasts about is more of a vision document that has been convoluted by the budgetary constraints and the very same country package. When things will come to a head is when the government can no longer get support from Parliament for matters that they need parliamentary support for. And how would that come to light? It can happen in different ways. Government can be called to Parliament to give account, and a position can be taken by Parliament via motion. So action by the government can be condemned, it can be revoked, overturned, if a majority in Parliament, any majority, so agrees. And the question would be, how will the government then act or react? Because the only motion against a minister or ministers that has or have political consequences is the motion of no confidence. So what is going to be taking place is that in the meantime, the government is going to be walking on very thin ice, trying not to upset any member of Parliament, and in particular, none of the signatories to these declarations. This is not a good place to be in, and I believe the Prime Minister had better sought a clear understanding with, if it can be mustered, a majority in Parliament for a very concise set of actions, things the government wants to execute and or implement, especially things on the short term. That is better than to have to wonder every day who will condemn an action by the Prime Minister or by any of the ministers for that matter. We only need to look at the meeting on GEBE this past week and the subtle threats against the Prime Minister, which makes me believe that the whole issue surrounding taking down the President of Parliament is a diversion and the ego play of one individual. Unfortunately, what this situation, if not tackled, is going to bring along is that we are going to be held hostage as a country in so many different ways, because that is what it will be. A hostage situation in which the country can hardly move a step forward, in which the government can hardly move a step forward. So it's going to be interesting these coming days to see how some of these situations are going to play out. Are the proponents, the members of Parliament who voted in favor of relieving the chairperson of Parliament of her duties, are they going to put this matter to rest and continue to work on behalf of the people? Or is the result coming out of the last vote on this matter, is that now going to be used even further against persons, against the President of Parliament? Because there is also this other request still pending to deal with the exact same matter, which is relieving the President of Parliament of her duties. That formal letter to do so, or at least to hold a meeting and do so, has not gone away, unless one or more persons or all the persons retract this letter. I hope wisdom will prevail and the kind of ego tripping and vindictiveness that we're seeing, that persons let that slide, they put those kind of feelings next to them and continue to work on behalf of the people. The country of St. Martin needs our undivided attention. No time for games, no times for ego plays, but time for the country to get the undivided attention that it needs and deserves.
The media versus the Prime Minister of St. Martin. So I should say the calm versus the media, but more like the Prime Minister. Now, the media disagreed with the Media Accreditation Policy 2022 as published by the government in the National Gazette on September the 16th without prior notification. The media will explore all possible remedies available to them and hold the government accountable for what they see as a breach of integrity. Of course, this did not sit too well with our Prime Minister, who decided to answer the media for being critical about her policy for the media.
I'd also like to address some, I can say, perceptions in the community. There have been much talk about access to information, and I would want to emphasize that as government, we continue to promote an environment that supports the dissemination of information to the general public. As a government, it has been our goal, of course, to set the framework and provide policies that will provide a healthy structure for how we interact. I support and I look forward to a healthy interaction between the media and government of St. Martin. And I anticipate, as I'd mentioned from the onset, when it was brought to our attention that more dialogue was needed, which we granted, that the media also should come together, unite, and form the Media Guild, which would then also give a basis for who and, are recognized as media personnel on the island. We do not need to do that if that is then done from your standpoint. With that being said, we recognize also that next week is Media and Information Literacy Week, and as government, we will be celebrating the right to access to information with some public service announcements on how to access information safely, how to protect oneself from negative or unauthorized information, and also how to access some tools on how to navigate the information literacy in a healthy way. So as such, we remain open for questions. We will be responding to those, and I look forward to us continuing to share that information via the various media on St. Martin. And of course, also via our own platforms. Today, stakeholder meetings are being held to gather input from the St. Martin stakeholders for the development of a kingdom-wide strategy document on national security, counterterrorism, intelligence, and security. This includes disaster risk management. Based on a risk assessment that had been concluded, which also included all parts of the kingdom, the policy expects that throughout the kingdom, they have sat in groups, analyzed our resilience, including the Caribbean countries, against these three threats previously mentioned. During these meetings are particular vulnerabilities pertaining to climate change, limited resources in times of crises, lack of fallback options, foreign interference, and geopolitical instability will be further addressed in order to develop the kingdom security strategy for the next 6 years. So the consultations are happening today, throughout the day, with various stakeholders, with the group that has been visiting from the, make sure I'm saying it correctly, the National Coordinator Counterterrorism Security from the Netherlands. So they are doing the consultations to finalize the strategy kingdom-wide, which will include all Caribbean countries within the kingdom. We're happy. I was happy to have a, a meeting, early meeting with them this morning before the session started. And I will also drop into the sessions during the day to see how they are going. Various stakeholders within the community are taking part in those sessions, after which by the first quarter, we'll be then getting this finalized strategy, which will then count for the entire kingdom. Today will also mark a new stage in the our relationship as government with the World Bank, as the establishment agreement, which has been long awaited, will be ratified today during a signing ceremony.
Now, of course, you know, the media still continue to be on the backside of our Prime Minister. And in this Good Morning, Mr. Governor with Ralph Contav, he correctly puts the silly regime in its place.
And now, Phillipsburg Broadcasting proudly presents Good Morning, Mr. Governor with Ralph Contav.
Good morning, Mr. Governor. At what point and exactly how will the totalitarian attempts of a silly regime be checked? The latest attack on the media by government is a dangerous step at dismantling the strength of democracy and makes one question the state of this nation. The remarks by the Prime Minister, who expressed that ministers will determine what questions they find relevant and pick and choose whether or not they will respond to questions from the media, is a mark of incompetence and the mark of dictatorship. The statements made in last week's press briefing sets the tone for a rogue council of ministers that dwells and governs from a place of darkness. However, Mr. Governor, the practice of might over right is unacceptable and must be uprooted in order for true transparency and equality to be commonplace in our governing bodies. This tone of a silly regime has already trickled down to other institutions where we see teachers, for example, being told that they must sign non-disclosure agreements. What is it that leaders have to hide? Is sweeping matters under the rug the only way we can deal with abuse and corruption? Our national shame box is rotting, and it starts from the head. Last year, similar statements were made about whistleblowers who were threatened by being tried to the full extent of the law. Such remarks are signs of weak and insecure leadership that can only govern by suppressing the freedom of information and the voices calling for what is right. It is an attempt to increase fear in the hearts of those who see what is wrong, who believe in doing what is good, but allow wrong to continue out of fear of being ostracized. Mr. Governor, the people have a right to know, and that is a right that will be protected and fought for. The desire to control what people should find relevant is an attempt to control your decisions, control your perspective, because the truth is the light. Sadly, that light strikes fear in the hearts of our leaders because of the amount of wickedness in high places on this island. Nevertheless, Mr. Governor, every vain attempt to silence the voices calling for accountability, integrity, and good governance will not cower by the threat of darkness. The toxic positivity and fake messages of openness are charades in an attempt to manipulate and deceive the people. The solution to this is to simply shine our light even brighter by speaking more truth, asking more questions, and exposing the misdeeds of those who attempt to mess with the people's right to know. If we leave such evil seeds continue to be sown unaddressed, then our silence is what will create the vines that will entrap us and choke our freedoms. Good morning, Mr. Governor.
That was Good Morning, Mr. Governor by Ralph Contav.
Mr. and Mrs. Justice Pageant, which was held on October the 15th, were with Basilio Jack taking home the crown of the Mr. Justice with a total of 974 points. Now, TV15's news reporter, Glenda York, got an opportunity to speak with Mr. Jack about the event and his experience.
Okay, and I think two of the parts of the show that stood out were your talent and your cultural wear. I think those got the responses from the crowd. Because during your talent was to you drew something as part of your talent.
Yes, that's correct.
But from the crowd, we didn't know what you were doing. We heard the audio that was playing, and after your 5 minutes, you came out. So let the public know what was your art and what you drew, and how was that?
Okay, well, it took a lot of practice for me to finish Draw Benji within 5 minutes. It was basically a former police officer that actually passed on the line of duty. So we wanted to, you know, draw Benji and everything for the talent and everything, leave a little impact and all that. And it, like I said, it took like a lot of practice because I'm a perfectionist. So when I do something, I want to like do it correct. I want to do it with detail and everything. So I was basically painting, and I had someone guiding me to like, because I never painted before, but I always used to draw and use pencils and color pencil, markers, pens, and so forth. So when it came to using paint, it was like, I really didn't know. So someone was guiding me through it and everything. And while I was doing the whole paint sessions and everything, because I was going like every day trying to practice how to get it done. And it was like, okay, we got a flow of it and everything, and like you're just taking too much time doing it. I basically was taking like 12 to 18 minutes roughly trying to.
And you only had 5 minutes for your talent.
Exactly. So it was like, okay, what to do is you go inside there and you just paint the picture, and we basically was timing myself doing it for days, trying to get it down right. So it was just go inside there and all the fine little details that you want to put in. You can't really exaggerate on top of it. It's just once you got the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the outline and everything, then it will speaks for itself.
Yes, and that's exactly that it did. Because we saw the outline, we saw the features, so we knew exactly who you were drawing. Yes, correct. And it turned out very well for the 5 minutes. So the practice came in very handy.
Very.
And for your cultural wear, you decided to embody Mr. Emilio Wilson.
Yes.
Let us know about that.
Well, it was my chaperones' them idea. They were like, everyone was thinking out of the box and trying to figure out like what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And then they were like, okay, let me do Emilio Wilson. Because nobody never really have done Emilio Wilson. And at that time also we found out that Emilio, basically this year make it 20 years since he passed.
Okay.
So we like, yeah, we're going to do this Emilio Wilson. And then Emilio Wilson was supposed to get knighted from the queen and everything, which he turned down and everything. So that's how we went about it. So we basically, my outfit was an outfit that he would have worn when he did take the, you know,
the knighthood.
Yes. So seeing that he didn't take it and everything, we decided to trade that with the uniform and everything. And
thank you to TV15 for that wonderful, wonderful footage. Of course, Mr. and Mrs. Romy is being worked on by the Ministry of Romy, and the minister and the winner will fix the roads of St. Martin once they're crowned. Good news.
Are you ready to represent your side as JW3 Jam Where We Want presents versus Part 2? Who are you rolling with? A head-to-head battle of rhythm, bass, and drive, all in one night, featuring from AXA Anguilla, Latest and Exodus HD.
Say it with your chest, oh yes!
And from Sugar City Sing Kicks, none other than Grandmasters. With a round one matchup of St. Martin's very own official band, versus No Limit.
Impressive.
Plus DJ Big Boss and Maestro versus King Kimbe and Sexer. It all goes down at APS Parking Lot, also known as Tellem's Parking Lot, on Saturday, October 22nd from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. Tickets are $15 for early bird, $20 in advance, and more at the gate. Tickets are available via the K-Band app. Picture the studio on the Bush Road and at Van Dorp in Madam Estate. JW3 on Saturday, October 22nd presents Versus Part 2. Who you rolling with?
Flawless victory.
Why it is you must reach the age of 40, 50, and 60 to own your own house in your own country? Why? Are we going to fix that? We're going to fix that. We have a plan to fix that, and we're going to fix it now. So if you don't take this nation and build on the people, build people, you're going nowhere. You have no country. Your asset is your people. That's your asset. You have to strengthen your people. And how do you do that? You give them opportunities. I have a plan that I can strengthen my government-owned companies. I can strengthen Telem. I can strengthen the harbor. I can strengthen GEBE. I can strengthen the airport. We can create another government-owned company that creates and generates and builds all the infrastructure in this country that belongs to us. That when we need help, that when we need money, because we can't borrow, but we have strengthened them that they can borrow from us. It's a plan. It can work. It can work. And that's why I said we are in the trenches. We are in the ashes. We are at the bottom. But we can rise. Why? Because there's hope. Because there's hope. One thing we have never tried. We have never tried giving one party the mandate to govern this country. We have never tried it. We have never tried giving them an outright victory to govern this country. When you create your own, and you own your own, you are only responsible for your own, and you're responsible for them now.
What we have ain't working now. So we gotta find a solution to fix it now. You see how easy that word now is? I feel like eating now. I feel like working now. I feel like dancing now. Everything is now. But now stands for nation, opportunity, and learning. That's a difference. Now, I don't know Christopher from the family side. I don't know Christopher from growing up on the French side. I know Christopher got a lot of family on the French side, and they can cook. I find that out when I happen to a meeting. Or they drag me through Concordia. I swear to God, I get robbed. If I didn't watch out, because I didn't know where I was going. I was just driving back until we came there, go another place. And I ain't gonna say who taking me on this wild goose chase. But it was a good goose chase. I met Christopher back, I think it was in 2015. He was in Parliament and this whole rainforest thing came and I gave Christopher some questions to ask. And when things got so hot on the floor of Parliament, they bothered and told Christopher, ask Von Camper for the answers. No, he wrote those questions. But that's where the relationship started. And Christopher became a minister of the ministry I worked for, Vromi. And that was not an easy ministry. As you can see, the minister today feels that every day. It is one of the most difficult ministries to handle because you touch people every day. Everything you do is on the street, be it in a comment, be it in whatever it is. But Christopher had a way of pushing through what he believed was the thing to do, while we disagreed quite often. I said my job is to give you advice, good advice. So I'm going to give it to you now. What you do with it, that's up to you as minister. But we forged a friendship, a trust with each other that was second to none. So when I met Christopher in Parliament in 2020, it wasn't too difficult to guess how we would work together. That was easy. That was the easy part. Understanding each other was the easy part. Everything was going good until I declared myself independent. Because that means I had no home to go to. And I started talking to a lot of people. Slowly but surely, I started feeling footing, grounding. Let me just say clear, because I don't want nobody to misunderstand why I'm standing here tonight. I'm standing here so those in the back of the room will hear it too. I am running now. Don't ifs and buts about that anymore. No ifs and buts about that. And the reason I did this, the reason I decided to say tonight, is because elections closer than you all believe. Because everybody smoking something. Not the legal thing yet, but smoking something. And no matter what happens, I think you just said it right. If you believe in it now, it will happen now.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to remember to help keep you and your family safe. Hurricane winds can cause trees and branches to fall. So before a hurricane strikes, Trim or remove damaged trees and limbs to keep you and your property safe. This hurricane season, secure loose rain gutters and downspouts and clear any clogged areas or debris to prevent water damage to your property. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
Yo, dog, you got me pulled for you, man, dog. Last night I was looking for you up and down. I can't find you where you was.
Yo, boy, you ain't hearing what happened to me last night, boy. I was in the jam, by walking on this thing, by whining on this thing, by choking on this thing, by giving out this sweetness, by all up on this thing. And then the lights went out. What happened? GB gone. By get him the GB walk up in the dark. You walk up in the dark. I get him the GB walk up in the dark. You walk up in the dark. Hey, hey, hey. My pant on anything because you can't see. You walk on anything because you can't see. My pant on anything because you can't see. You walk on anything because you can't see. Hey, I was in the jam all and it sing. But she was looking good at top 10 tight thing. But she had on a short pants, a real tight short pants, a red color short pants. But I was a short pants, and then she started to push back, and then I started to brace up, to hold that, and then she started to walk up, like that. The lights started to flicker. I was like, what's that? What happened? GB gone. But get him the GB walk up in the dark. You walk up in the dark. But get him the GB walk up in the dark. You walk up in the dark. Hey, hey, hey. My pant on anything because you can't see. You walk on anything because you can't see. My pant on anything because you can't see. You walk on anything because you can't see. Hey, but I was in a front side all on this thing. But she was looking good, a nice red bone thing. She said she named Juliet. She like to eat baguette. Smell good like a galette. A girl I can't forget. And then she started to push back, and then I start to brace up, to hold that, and then she start to walk up, like that. The lights start to flicker. I was like, what's that? Yo, Kiskia, they have gone. But get him the GB walk up in the dark. You walk up in the dark. But get him the GB walk up in the dark. You walk up in the dark. Hey, hey, hey. My pant on anything because you can't see. You walk on anything because you can't see. My pant on anything because you can't see. You walk on anything because you can't see. Hey, hey, listen to me. Somebody needs to tell GB and Erdef stop taking off the damn current. I could never find my damn jockey. Never find my jockey. I'd be sleeping, sweating in the damn hotness. Lord, man, when I want to go wash my skin, I turn on the water ain't walking. I can't wash my stones, I can't find my jockey. But Lord, man, yeah, girl.
tough like a rock. Tick tock, tick tock. Put him in a shock, heartbeat a drop. Bad me broke out, no apology. And me too savage, figure make a youth. Follow me like Twitter, man, follow me if you study me biology. Yes, me are the bestest gal inna the colony. Shensi up on his own, turn it up. Man a dash cash, DJ money pull up. More liquor in a cup, fully up. Drink till me see the bottom of the cup. Chug it up, chug it up.
Have I ever leave the party sober? Before the things done over, before the place done over. Never have I ever leave the party sober. Before the things done over, before the place done over. Never ever, never ever, ever. Never ever, never ever, ever that. Never ever, never ever, ever. Never ever, never ever, ever that. Never ever, never ever, ever. Never ever, never ever, ever that. Never ever, never ever, ever. Never ever, never ever, ever that. Broke off your waistline, baby. Let me pull up to you, my lady.
I want you to give me the wine right there. I like how you put on the wine on me.
Broke off your waistline, baby. Let me pull up to you, my lady.
I want you to give me the wine right there. I like how you put on the wine on me.
Wine low, baby. Go slow, baby. I know what you need. I know what you need. Wine low, baby. Go slow, baby. I know what you need. I know what you need. Ever leave the party sober before the things done over, before the place done over. Never have I ever leave the party sober before the things done over, before the place done over. Never ever, never ever, ever. Never ever, never ever, ever that. Never ever, never ever, ever. Never ever, never ever, ever that. Never ever, never ever, ever. Never ever, never ever, ever that. Never ever, never ever, ever. Never ever, never ever, ever that. Omari Productions.
All year long, we've been waiting. Whoa, 10,000 strong, celebrating. Whoa, and it won't be long till the whole crew march in charge up in party mode. When we touch the road, all you see is flags and rags, taking nobody like we coming to charge up, charge up, charge up, charge up. So call me mash it up, mash it up, mash it up, mash it. When the music starts to pumping, then the whole party start to jump. We full of energy. If you got stress inside your head, as soon as you step inside the fence, soca is the remedy. When the army in the road, and you say we in party mode, then you should know how we roll. We coming to mash up town, each party shelling down. You hearing us coming, bam, 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 and you feel when you roll the pump, we coming to charge up, charge up, charge up, charge up. So call me mash it up, mash it up, mash it up, mash it up. We singing a whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh, whoa. Up every single set, walking up on anything. Every jam we jump around, nobody can hold my arm.
Yo, Steven, this tune sell out.
This song is a problem.
I'm telling you, listen, I gain thousands of videos from ladies every day just telling me something intriguing. This tune is about to be a problem. Wow. I ain't think they're ready for this one yet, now, Steven. I don't think they're ready for this one. Oh, wow. Steven, let me call you right back, alright? Yes.
Hear this, hear me. Oh, you see that pretty lady? I just want to whine and shake. I notice she only watching me, baby. I can't let she get away, so I ask she to dance with me. She laughing and only watching me, baby. I just want a wine, is that okay? She grab up my hand and say, when the girl whine on me, all my troubles float away. Now the whole party breaking away. What she say, what yeah. Now she rolling back on me, and she balling something choking me. Oh yeah. Now she looking back at me, and she balling something choking me, baby. Like Noah, first fight Noah, this day like Noah, cause she like when I plenty days now. Don't buy me waist now, right by the case now, cause she like how I all night long we dancing 2K. The girl only dancing with me, every man in the party watching me, baby. She says she don't want to party, she just want to dance with me. She don't care if everybody watching me, baby. Oh, like the girls who care in on me. She grab up my hand and say, when the girl whine on me, all my troubles float away. Now the whole party breaking away. When she say what she say, what yeah. Now she rolling back on me, and she balling something choking me. Oh yeah. Now she looking back at me, and she balling something choking me, baby. Oh like Noah, first fight Noah, this day like Noah, cause she like when I plenty days now. Don't buy me waist now, right by the case now, cause she like how I she say, allez mon chéri, voulez-vous danser bébé? She say, allez mon chéri, and we dance and we zouke. When she say what she say, what yeah. Now she rolling back on me, and she balling something choking me. Oh yeah. Now she looking back at me, and she balling something choking me, baby. Oh like Noah, first fight Noah, this day like Noah, cause she like when I plenty days now. Don't buy me waist now, right by the case now, cause she like how I all by the trucker, all in the feta, all on the road. She love when I King James, CL Productions, North Island Records, baby. We in there.
We conclude our weekend review. Until next week, have a good one. Have a safe weekend. Bye-bye.